Welcome to Winning with Anna Lee. I'm your host, Anna Lee Leonard, president of Mainstay Financial Group, right on the corners of Antes and Perry. Excuse me. And our job is to keep you on course in your financial life, to help you through those retirement years and planning and designing, pulling together a plan. Part of that is my partnership with Alpha Star Capital Management. And if you remember last month, we had with us Brooks Riley and Bob Drury, and they were gracious enough to come back, actually not just to see me. They had to promise them the beach, but that's okay. I'll get them out there. But we wanted to talk more about our partnership and the uniqueness of it and how we work together. Bob, you have a great way of talking about it. You call it the gap approach.
Absolutely. What we like to make sure that we do with all of our clients is perform the gap in order to make sure we're filling the gap for their financial planning purposes. And what that gap refers to is first gathering client information, making sure we understand their goals, their risks, their wants, and their needs for their portfolios. Next, we want to make sure that we analyze their current portfolio so we can make proper recommendations on how to make changes for a future portfolio. And finally, we do the ongoing professional portfolio management for that portfolio, so which includes monitoring it, of course, over time, making sure it is obtaining the objectives and doing the things we wanted it to do in the first place.
Yeah, because if you don't watch your portfolio, it can very easily become lopsided. Something does well, something doesn't, and all of a sudden you think you're in a moderate portfolio and you're in a pretty doggone aggressive portfolio. That's happened. You've seen it often. I send you things and I'll say, Bob, this client thinks that they're in a moderately conservative portfolio. I don't think so. And you'll do your full analysis and we come back and they're way up here on the risk.
I think we see a lot of times, I think more times than not, with new clients, prospective clients, we find that they really are generally risked much higher than what they might anticipate. So what we try to do is we have software that can kind of analyze the current portfolio risk and all their holdings and how those holdings correlate to each other to make an overall portfolio risk and a risk score, and then we can compare it to really what they've told us that they're looking for in
what
their
they're really
portfolio.
looking for and what they really want.
Absolutely.
Which sometimes are very, very different things, which leads into that aspect of saying, okay, how do we design our portfolios? What do we put together? Well, it's like we talked about last month. You were saying you can we can look at a portfolio and tell you how that portfolio would react if we had another '08, if we had a spike in interest rates, if we had another tech bubble, those things. And when you look at it, and I've watched people just totally lose all color in their face when we're saying, well, okay, if the portfolio you're in, if we had another '08, you probably go down about 55%. How would you feel about that? And we give them that number, and they have no idea.
Absolutely. I think it's a great starter conversation when you can say there's a likelihood that your portfolio could go down with a 95% chance, down 15% over the next 6 months. Is that something where you would be willing to continue to invest in that given portfolio to wait it out and see if it comes back, or would you automatically sell out at the bottom? That's what we call decision risk, and that's what we want to avoid.
We want to avoid that, yeah. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
So I think it's a great thing to go ahead and get an idea of the potential for that portfolio volatility based on not only the underlying holdings, but how they interact together. Then we can see the type of risk that the given client is willing to take on, and then we can say, hey, are you not comfortable with where you're currently at? Then we can dial down the risk, which of course is giving up some of the potential return, but the important thing is that we wouldn't be selling out at the bottom of our portfolio value.
Exactly. Kind of the knee-jerk reaction. I always say people run their investments very often on two emotions, greed and fear. And neither of them are the way you're supposed to do this, which is why I think you need that objective eye of a professional advisor that can help to lead you through. And that's one of the reasons why I rely on you. And Brooks, you are part of the reason why we have so many of the choices that we have in pulling together that plan, and can take the different approaches. And I think people don't realize that there are different approaches to investing.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a buffet of different approaches or strategies to investing. So, to run through a couple, and what I think is important to have an understanding of is you have kind of your passive and active investments. Passive, obviously, being your more buy and hold type strategy. Active, I like to break into two segments. One being kind of a strategic, and one being tactical. So, strategic being someone is actively looking at and managing this portfolio, or making some strategic reallocations here and there, typically nothing drastic. Tactical, on the other hand, typically is something drastic, given some sort of external indicator, whether it be some sort of momentum indicator, performance indicator, whatever the case may be. That portfolio would have the ability to make large allocation changes, either much more aggressive or much more defensive, given certain indicators in the market or whatnot. So we try to educate our advisors on all the types of money management that we have available to them, so that they can understand and talk to their clients about it. Because I think the real important place where an advisor adds value is being able to communicate to them why they're investing in something and what they can expect from it. As Bob mentioned before, and I say it all the time, I don't pretend to know what the market's going to do. I don't think anyone does.
No one does.
But what we do know, and I can confidently say, is I do know what all of our models are going to do, given what the market does. So that way you can reasonably set expectations for a client on their potential downside and potential upside for their portfolio, and that really is what an advisor should be, in my opinion.
And I agree with you on that, and it goes back to the whole gap philosophy. We find out what they need, where are they in life, and certainly my 50-year-olds that come in have a very different approach than my 68, 70-year-old has an approach to market, and so it should be.
And that's true both from a risk perspective and from a style of investment philosophy. With so many different ways and styles that we can invest, it can be somewhat daunting to a client, especially without the help of a financial advisor. How should I spend these assets? How should I invest these assets? We do believe in what's called a core satellite approach to investing. That's starting off with a low-cost core diversified portfolio, and then if you have the ability and the willingness to add on more types of investment strategies, then you can add on an additional layer of kind of a more alpha approach, something more tactical or something more aggressive for a sector of the market that you think that you can gain that extra amount over and above what the market is obtaining from return perspective.
Yeah, I think the first time Kevin over at Alpha talked about it, he referred to it as a sleeving approach.
Absolutely.
Where we're using more than one approach in one portfolio, but when you look at it, you see it as the one portfolio. So you get that overall performance. How is this working? What is it doing? The other thing I really have appreciated working with AlphaStar is the fact that AlphaStar has an understanding and an appreciation of the fixed side of the business, the insurance side of the business.
We do believe in a holistic planning process, which, to be honest, many investment firms in the industry have kind of shunned. The insurance side of the industry. We do believe that it can be a practical way to reduce portfolio risk and even attain some income in a given portfolio.
I want to share with you on that. I recently got a phone call from one of my clients. She's been with me probably a good 15, maybe 18 years. And when I first put some of her money into the fixed portfolio, her son was appalled. He thought this was terrible thing. She needs to all be in the market. They kept some of their managed money with someone else, one of our competitors, who called me recently and said, we don't offer these. I really don't know anything about them, but that was the best decision she ever made. She said, look at her money. She's been taking all these required minimum distributions, and we still have just about what she put in there. And when you get that kind of a compliment from someone who doesn't even do that type of an instrument, you realize, yes, I have done the right thing for that client.
Absolutely. I think the idea is to find the tools from what we like to make sure that our advisors have the tool belt they need to service their clients, find the proper tools to assist the need for every client. And every client has a different set of needs.
Oh, they're different. They're different. Some are going to need income later, some don't need it, but they want a safety factor. It's what does your client need? And I think the biggest thing they all have to realize is that if you do an insurance product, that's exactly what you're doing. You're doing an insurance product that is not an investment. Don't look at it that way. It's an insurance product. And it's there for that bottom rock safety. And then we can build up the rest of the portfolio from that.
It doesn't have to be an either or. You can use an insurance side on one side of your portfolio to reduce portfolio risk, and then invest even more aggressively on the investment side, knowing that you have the automatic income coming on the fixed side.
And we've done that for quite a few people. I enjoy so much when we do that because it gives, because you know and I know, we very often when there are two people, you're going to have two attitudes toward risk. One wants to risk, the other one said, no, I don't want to lose that money. Well, now I'm satisfying both. So, okay, we've got this whole segment. It's going to be there no matter what happens. This one we can be a little bit more aggressive with because if the market is taking it down, I can take money out of here and leave this alone. Let this grow back up before we start taking money out. And it's a way to satisfy everybody, and you're building a portfolio around a family instead of one individual that's making a decision. And I think that's very important.
In addition to that, the different types of investments are going to perform differently at different points in time. So when one might be up, the other one might be down, but when one is down, the other one is likely up.
Yeah, so we look at that. We're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about all the different choices, well, not all of them, but some of the different choices we have. And I really want to spend time, guys, on Beta Shield, okay?
Absolutely.
Good. We'll be right back. See you in a minute.
Retirement strategies come in all shapes and sizes. One strategy does not fit all when it comes to reaching your retirement goals, and considering all your options may be, well, more than you want to think about. So whether you're looking to retire or already living in retirement, you need a strategy tailor-made for you.
Hi, I'm Annalee Leonard with Mainstay Financial Group, and I'm here to design a financial plan for you and for those that you love.
Hart, what's going on? I'm leaving. Why? What did I do? Not enough. You constantly ignore me. You barely eat anything healthy. You're half as active as you used to be. The pressure is just too much. I quit. Okay, I get it. I'll do better. Just, please, don't leave. Okay, but remember, if I go, you go.
Listen to your heart. Don't let it quit on you. Uncontrolled high blood pressure could lead to stroke, heart attack, or death. Get yours to a healthy range before it's too late.
There's a shelter pet who wants to meet you. Meet one today. Visit theshelterpetproject.org. Adopt.
Mainstay Financial Group offers advocacy and personal financial guidance in a caring environment. That's the heart of our practice. At Mainstay, we're dedicated to exemplary service and a caring relationship with our client, not with a number. Plan for the future now with Mainstay Financial Services.
Welcome back to Winning with Annalee. I'm your host, Annalee Leonard, president of Mainstay Financial Group, and I have with me today Bob Drury and Brooks Riley from Alpha Star Capital Management, and we're continuing our conversation of last week because this is part of Mainstay's team. This is who we are. We're part of your team, you're part of our team, and it's a great relationship. As I tell my clients, listen, you don't have one good mind taking care of this. You have many wonderful minds looking at this and working as a team, and how much more powerful can you get? I love the team approach. I've got very good attorneys in this city I work with. I have very good enrolled agent, CPA I work with, because no one person can know everything there is to know. So part of what Alpha Star has done is you've gone out, besides having the passive and active, the strategic and tactical types of investing, you've gone out and found all these wonderful partnerships we have of where can we put a client's money.
Sure, yeah. We have a number of relationships with different money managers. That's one of the big parts of our business is providing professional money management to financial advisors, and having access to a lot of these professional money management companies, big names like Vanguard and State Street at Global Advisors, Russell Investments, Horizon Investments is a big partner of ours in Charlotte, and we try to offer a wide range of different portfolio options that really span the spectrum of strategies and risk return profiles. And make those available to our advisors to kind of plug and play when you're ready into the financial plan. One of the more recent models that we have developed, we kind of take feedback from our advisors in the field, and we're able to work with some of these partners and custom build a portfolio strategy.
Yeah.
So Beta Shield was a big one that we came out with recently. Essentially, as you do, many of our advisors work in the retirement planning space. So their clients are much more concerned about not losing their money rather than experiencing some outperformance.
Yes.
Or some substantial growth. So Beta Shield really took that philosophy, and we leaned on Horizon Investments a lot. They have a fantastic investment team there. With several PhDs and CFAs on their staff, and they provided us with a lot of the muscle in the research and development phase of this to put something together. So what we came up with is really much more, essentially a stop loss type approach on the downside, so that you can have and tell your clients that you have this defined type downside, and then on the flip side, we'll incrementally piece out of the market, and we'll incrementally piece back into the market. We do take in performance and some volatility metrics into account on the reinvestment stage, so that we can hopefully avoid to a high confidence of the whipsaw approach, where it's getting in or out at the wrong time.
Right. And Bob and I, and you and I go back to building portfolios around that philosophy. And, one of the things I've told the clients that I really like about Beta Shield is the fact they're watching a benchmark, not so much their portfolio as to whether money is dropping or staying the same.
Yeah, I think it's great that the portfolio is actually designed where the triggers are built around a model perspective as opposed to an individual client's portfolio base. And what that means is that if a client is in a position where they're not sure whether it's a good time to get in or out of the market, then we can actually look at the portfolio indicators as almost like a dollar cost averaging approach in order to decide the portfolio itself is getting in and out of protective short-term treasury type assets when it feels it's unsafe, and then the portfolio gets back invested fully into the market gradually over time when it feels like the markets have returned back to normalcy. So it's a great approach, even from just put your money in and it'll tell you in itself whether it's a good time to be investing. In fact, Beta Shield Equity just got fully back invested today.
I know, y'all told me that when you did. It's like, good, all my money's back out in the market. Because I put my own 401k into Beta Shield. And there are 3 levels of risk in it. And I figured, well, I'm still working, still putting money in. I use the highest level of risk. But when I stop at 93, I'll probably go down in risk a little bit. And then I'll have all this money. You say I can go traveling, which I can't do now because I'm serving my clients. But that's okay. It's a good thing. But I want to make sure that money is there later because I've worked too hard to gather it. And I still want to have that potential of good gain, but I personally could not swallow a 40-50% loss. I couldn't do it.
Right.
So Beta Shield for me was a wonderful, wonderful answer. So now we're able to do things like maybe have the annuity on the bottom and then come in with the Beta Shield for the next level of risk, and then put some of the money up here in something that is much riskier and balance out a nice portfolio if a client is suitable for that.
Absolutely.
But it gives us a good approach to, instead of saying all of it's going to go into one segment, we're able to bring that out into different areas. So.
Absolutely. It's a great approach in my eyes. You can kind of build up your level almost from a pyramiding perspective while looking at it from a holistic standpoint to decide if it's appropriate for the client. And we do have the more aggressive models, the individual stock models like Navalier that can fit somebody who wants to be invested a little bit more aggressively than some of the approaches we've been talking about.
Yeah, and you know, I've got some of my clients that are out there. You've helped me also with some of my wealthier clients that needed a tax shelter but didn't want to get into any type of an annuity. We've done the tax efficient portfolio.
Our Russell tax managed portfolios are great philosophies for either clients that are currently in trusts that tend to be heavily taxed, or just individuals with high incomes. It has several strategies within the one portfolio that take advantage of tax management, from tax loss harvesting throughout the year rather than just making large trades at the end of the year to take advantage of tax losses. Additionally, it uses municipal bonds, which is a pretty fairly common strategy, and it also has a very unique cost structure to the portfolio in order to take advantage of the taxation.
Yeah. And while we're talking about tax efficiency, I want to bring up something that, to me, I have never had a registered investment advisor offer to me, is that idea of the variable annuity that you use, which gets rid of all the back-end fees that we normally find within a variable, and yet gives us many more choices of what to invest in while getting full management.
Sure, yeah, absolutely. That's going to be the Nationwide Advisory Services, formerly Jefferson National. They got purchased by Nationwide a couple years ago, but they have a fee-only variable annuity product that, you know, basically is $20 a month, no surrender fees, no trade fees. There is, you know, obviously an advisor and a management fee, but you know, typically I've seen it come in way below any other standard VAs you'd see out there. And then instead of kind of choosing from different sub-accounts that you don't really know maybe what you're investing in there, we're actually able to map a lot of our investment models over to their platform. They have about 350 mutual funds available on their platform. So we can, you know, take a holdings report from our model, they'll map it over to their platform for us, and we can manage that model within their VA wrapper.
And you brought up two of the things that I think are really important to people that are watching that may be looking for something. The fact that it is, number one, tax efficient because it is an annuity, and the second fact is that it's liquid. We're not like the regular annuities saying, okay, this money is going to be there for maybe 5 years, 7 years, 10 years, depending on what job we're trying to accomplish. But this is a fluid aspect. So if we need the dollars, we can get to them.
That's very true. It's completely liquid. Again, no trade fees, no surrender fees. It's really great for a client who may have another VA somewhere else that is getting charged high fees. And we can easily run an analysis and see what the fees are in their current VA and what it would look like within the fee-based VA. And in my experience, it almost always beats it on fees. And then, you know, as you mentioned before, liquidity is a big issue with any kind of annuity product. That's really, you know, I would say one of the number one downsides of an annuity is that it typically comes with some sort of period in which you are going to pay typically a very high fee if you need to get out of it.
If you got to get out. Right. And you know, that's one of the things I always teach my clients. They don't put your money into the indexed annuities or the 5-year fixed annuities or 7-year if you need that money. That's not the place for money you need today. That's the place for money we're going to use either as income or we're building for later in life. And I think that's where people get caught very often. No one explains all those things to them. And you have to know all those pieces before you say, "Oh, here's my money." You know, ask questions. That's what I always tell people. Ask questions. And if I don't know the answer, I'm calling him up.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Well, that comes back to what we talked about last time, whereas a lot of financial professionals out there are maybe they're only insurance licensed, maybe they're only securities licensed, and that limits what they are able to provide to clients and talk about. So, you know, that's where almost all of our advisors, I think, are both insurance and securities licensed. And as you mentioned before, it comes back to that fiduciary standard, whereas you need to understand the client and make recommendations that are in their best interest.
And that boils down the whole thing.
yeah, the holistic planning process is really what we wanted to build at Alpha Star when I came on board a couple years ago. And really we want to provide the ability for our advisors not only to get education from us as an RIA on how to use our products and services, but also to be able to understand there are multiple sides to the industry and there are multiple ways that different products can be used for different clients. And we certainly don't want to push certain products on certain clients. We really want to learn the client first and then decide what products are appropriate to fit the mix that they need.
Yeah, and I think the one last thing we'll touch on is the fact that everything is a see-through situation. You know, you see the fees, you see everything backed out. It's right there in front of your face. There's nothing hidden. I think that's an important aspect because too many people have no idea of what they're paying. And I think you need to do that. Educate yourself. Know what you're doing. Have someone who's willing to take the time to sit down and talk to you and educate you and has a full team working behind them. Those are your important steps. So if you need us, call me, 437-3127. Renee will get you set up for an appointment. Take care of yourselves. Enjoy the little bit of summer we have left, and we'll see you next month. Bye-bye.